Okay, I'm recording. Excellent. You're cooking with gas? Welcome, Jeanette.
Thank you.
Were you on in the first session?
If
Okay, all right.
no, I missed it. I couldn't connect to the first one.
Okay,
So
all right.
I try to be first in this one.
Okay, cool. All right, all right. The recording on the WhatsApp group chat, you know that, right?
If you are,
I
I
said,
was listening to some of them.
yeah, right. So not some of them. You're supposed to catch
Yeah, I
up.
have to listen to all of them. Trying to.
Okay, I
Yeah,
got
I got like the last half of them.
once you realize that, as I had a very interesting note. It didn't apply to you. It doesn't apply to you, of course, but that's you need to really attend to successfully complete this course. But I cannot make
Babe,
Yeah.
I cannot
eh,
See,
pass
for
without
me,
taking
for
part.
Elliot,
me, Steve, I'm part of NADMA, and they have collaborated with health. So for me, and then plus I still have work to do. So my
Yeah.
regular
I
work, NADMA
I
work,
understand that you're doing tracing and all that.
to be quite
I'm not
on,
going to.
like
Elliot,
school right now is like the last thing on my list, and I'm sorry, and I apologize to everybody else, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Roger, your mic is on. All right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, Jeanette, no problem. As I say, once you catch up, you know it. Before.
can you last one to me when you said about a scenario being successful, competitive advantage? I didn't quite get what you said.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go over that in a little bit. It would be difficult for me to explain to you out of context. You would have had to see in the beginning that we are talking about foresighting. Okay? If after you look at the video, you still don't get it, you know,
Yeah.
I'll go over it.
And it coming from a perspective
I
that have
missed
been
that.
viewed,
Breaking up.
and that's bad.
Could you repeat? You were
I
breaking up.
said I got the part where you say coming from a perspective that have been publicly viewed, but I didn't get what you said after.
Oh, that do I remember the context in which I would have said that?
In terms of so.
Okay, still don't remember. But the thing is that it would be on the recording, the previous recording, and I'm recording this one as well. So if after you look at it, you're still not clear, then you could always, just drop me a line. Or we could discuss it in Monday's class or something, okay?
All right.
But what you would have missed is that were you around yesterday afternoon as well? Were you at yesterday's class?
I was there. I'm always at class. You speaking to Naja?
No, not you, not I'm talking to Jeanette, but you just had the question.
No, I missed.
Right, so
I missed class
that's what I'm
yesterday.
saying. It's gonna be difficult for me to have you catch up if you didn't know what we were talking about there. But anyhow, so to continue for this afternoon. So Karen, thanks for the use of your account and for allowing me to host your meeting. As I said, once you don't pull rank on me, I will be as succinct as possible. Yes, I'm really glad that we have this opportunity to do these recorded Zoom sessions, and for people like Natasha who so wanted this mechanism. Hint, hint, hint. Natasha. Right, good. No, I just wanted to make sure that that I know that you didn't do what you said you were going to do. Anyhow, so how did we get to all this talk about strategic planning and foresighting? We got it because we have a fairly logical rollout of what we want to do in this course. We want to be able to explain to everyone, especially fellow civil society organization members and leadership, what sustainable community development practice is all about. And to do that, of course, we have to be trained ourselves, but we have to be confident that we can go out there and literally make a difference. And that is where that's probably what you heard about competitive advantage, Jeanette. That is what our competitive advantage is going to be. That I shouldn't say we, because I keep telling you I'm not going to be a member.
Okay.
I'm going to be I'm not going to be a stakeholder either. I'm going to be a highly paid consultant. Anyhow.
Oh, wow.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So
Wow.
that CSO, that prize is pioneering CSO.
Writing you a blank check.
That's the type I'm accustomed to. Blank without a signature and without a heading for a bank. So
That's right.
I've had blank checks all my life. Anyhow, so we are looking at how this CSO is going to be structured. On the very first course, first in terms of how you're doing them, has to do with CSO structure and so. And we agreed that the best way to do that is to form a CSO yourself. The best way to talk about grant applications is to do one yourself. And I'm saying that every step of the way, we are doing the preparatory work to get to that end product where you have a CSO, you have a listing of experience that you could put down. Because remember when you graduate, the day after you graduate, people are going to ask, what experience you have in this? You have the experience of having started a thing, going through the process, and you have practical examples, real life practical examples over the course of the year and a half or 2 years or however long it will take for you to get to finish your associate degree. All right, any other questions? Somebody was asking me something before when we switched over. Was it you, Glenda? Did you have a question before?
I did a recording over in the WhatsApp. It was just to do with my understanding of what I interpreted by what you
between
said.
visionary and dreamer.
Yeah, no, I said I like the link that you've made, the comparison, and the way I see the foresighting, actually it's the person, not wasting their time, but more or less, working with a strategic objective, and they can even also do monitoring and evaluation and build it as they go. So that was basically my contribution.
Yeah, so remember that I hope I haven't made this thing sound too simple, yeah? Because part of the responsibility of the facilitator is to ensure that we follow the process and not jump to the outcome. Do you remember that slide?
Yes,
where I said
yes,
the process is important. This
the process, yes.
This is a strategic thinking tool. And again, Karen, it's not a strategic planning tool. The strategic planning comes afterwards, right?
Because what you said is that the process is as important as the outcome.
Definitely, right? And as I said, you're going to have that on your phone. You're going to be able to play back those slides and things, at your convenience and at your own speed, so that we sure that you get it, right? Because as I said, when you talk to people who have not been trained or who have not been exposed to this thing, if you don't explain it properly, it could come across as if you're just dreaming. In 2025, it will be this or it will be that, and when you talk to people on that basis, they are not going to be able to distinguish you from a dreamer.
Definitely, I want to be a dreamer.
That's the point I'm making, right? So the difference between the visionary and the dreamer, it stops at that point. And one of the points I was making is that dreamers tend to be operating on their own by themselves, because they have such a great idea, they so love this dream that they have of how successful they're going to be, but the last thing they want to do is share it with anybody else. Because dreamers, when you're into that phase, you see yourself so far down the road, doing this and doing that, and to share it is almost as if you're going to dilute it. With a visionary, you realize that you won't get there by yourself, especially if you're talking about a CSO context. I'm not talking about personal development now. I'm not talking about you as an individual. I'm talking about the CSO. But a CSO even if you have a good vision for the CSO, you have to be able to share it. And this is one of those cases where you don't want to hug the idea to yourself, right? Because this is something that is going to benefit the CSO and make it more effective. So in that sense, the dreamers tend to hold on to it and don't necessarily want to share it because it usually comes from not having this abundance mentality. Now, remember, I'm not teaching a philosophy course here. I'm certainly not teaching a religious course, right, or a faith-based course. But I'm telling you some of the realities. If you do not have an abundance mentality, you're going to find yourself in trouble in a number of spheres, whether it be in a CSO or in your personal life.
Excuse me, Steve, if we don't have an abundance in what?
Abundance mentality.
Okay, okay.
I'm going to explain what I mean.
You want me to explain what I understand from that?
Sure, take a stab at it.
Take a shot to you. If you don't think big, then if you don't think outside the box, you get yourself in trouble later on down the road.
No, not necessarily. What the key thing about an abundance mentality is
I think I got it.
you live your life knowing
Mm-hmm.
that there's enough for everyone's need, but not necessarily enough for everyone's greed.
Right.
An abundance mentality says that when somebody gets something, it's not something that belongs to you that they got. There's enough for all of us. All of us could be
right.
All of us could be
Because
it's not only about thinking
before,
big. You see, I want to challenge you. It's not only about thinking big. You're thinking big, yes. You could think as big as you want for yourself, but you do not
no,
think
I lost my
big
train of thought when I
okay.
got that phone call. That's what happened because I was going to ask you, I was going to say something to that.
Okay.
Because you see, in life, sometimes people think if they share the idea is because somebody would steal it. But if you know what your idea is and what course you're working on to get into where you want to go, I know that you have to be very careful as to when you let go your idea, right? But people think if they share the idea or they share whatever they're doing, that it would deprive them from what they should really get. But no, we should not be afraid, as visionaries or persons who are going down the same road in CSA development and as would have be prospective, persons who have been consultants and stuff like that. We shouldn't think that narrow, but more or less think on a bigger scale because, as you said, there is sufficient for everyone to go around. And it's like, let's put it in like, okay, look at the time we're in right now. People tend to think, oh, everybody had to rush to the grocery and grab all the toilet paper and all of this. No, you take what you need. You understand? So I'm saying that there is sufficient for everyone and we just have to use our discretion.
Fair enough. Okay. That's a valid way of looking at it, right? But I'm saying that it's a way of thinking, a way of approaching life that is, that I believe in. I mean, I'm not here preaching it. Don't get me wrong. It's just something that I've seen over the years that works. That you literally don't have to fight it. There's enough out there. Even if, as Karen was saying earlier in an earlier class, I was wanting to be a consultant. When you are confident in what you're doing, you really I have no fear of competition or fear of displacement, because you have to know to yourself whether you are unique or not. And that's a very important concept there.
I would just say woo. That's what I would just say, woo.
We are all unique, right? I don't think, and I'm not being boastful or anything, there's no other consultant with my mix of skills. Don't get me wrong, I never said that I have more skills than anybody else.
So we know what you mean. We don't want you to get no lawsuit. We know what you mean, and we continue.
No. I have to be sure that that I'm clear in what I'm saying and what I mean by it, right? But every experience I have had, good, bad, or indifferent, and I've told you all this in class before, that I've never had an experience that I couldn't benefit from, whether it's negative or positive. whether it's something that I did for free,
You sure?
I did for positive. Right? Yeah. Apart from like meeting earlier, but I mean, other than that, I can't think of anything, that hasn't redounded to my benefit as yet. Right? As I say, you all.
So I vet you, sir. So I don't think I vet you now. Vet you. The person give me some good feedback. So that I tell you, you win already.
You vet me? You can't vet me. My life is a.
I was just kidding.
My life is a.
I just mentioned your name as I said to a friend of mine, and they said, "Oh yes, he's very, very, very good."
Yeah. If you think you'll get extra 5 marks for that,
No. I look.
You're very correct. You are going to get an extra 5 marks for that. So anybody else who wants to mention something similar for extra 5 marks, please feel free to do so. Right? But no, but
Well, it makes sense to say anything because I ain't passing already. So.
But no. You committed the Cardinals, and and we already discussed that sin for the evening.
Right,
Already.
I know. So we good.
And don't forget that at Kevin in problems too, because Kevin who parked next to me.
Oh gosh.
You see, so you see, just like how your virus spread.
That's what's going on.
Exactly what's going on. He didn't maintain enough social distance, and you didn't maintain enough vehicular distance in your car, right? So,
right.
As I say, you're on a losing streak there already, so you must avoid. No, but seriously, but you understand what I keep saying about being able to relate everything that happens to what you're studying or what you know.
Yeah.
So in the same way that if I was going to be explaining COVID-19 to somebody, and we're talking about cars, and we're talking about social distance, and I'm saying that if you want to protect cars from one another, you should park with enough space so that when somebody opens the door, it doesn't hit the car next to them. Right? And as I say, without harping on it too much, right, Jeanette? I really feel you're gonna have to see your mark sheet yourself, to be convinced that you're ready. ready to mark you. All right?
I know you're going. I know it. But I'll work hard still though.
Yeah. No, but so am I quite clear on that? Yeah, that once you can, it has to do with how things are wired in your brain. Right? How many of you have heard of schema and schemata, or who know what that is?
Could you repeat it?
Do you know what schema or schemata are when they talk about cognitive science or using your brain, etc.? Any of you came across the term? And anyhow, it is how you relate stuff in your brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you become knowledgeable in a field or in an activity, you are able to develop schemata outside of that activity. In other words, you can link concepts from that activity into almost everything you talk about. And the example I just gave you is that, if you feel you understand what social distancing is about, right? Then even if you were talking about cars and parked cars in a car park, then you'll be able to relate it to that and saying, okay, then what will be a safe distance would be like 2 car doors away, right? Because that is the contact, that is the spread, that is the 6 feet that the virus droplets could exist in. Everybody still with me?
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm still with you. And I would like to add my 2 pence to this conversation.
Yes.
You're 2 dark pence because you're in the dark talking to me. But I ain't even bothering to talk to you again. Now, go ahead.
But don't worry, if you're not talking to me, that's okay. Once you listen, I got it.
Go ahead.
All right. First off, I think we are the best thing that ever happened to you since ice cream. But then again, moving on.
Yes, please move on. Because if you think that make ice cream better than Guinness ice cream, you're very mistaken. So don't go down that road at all. And don't bring up.
It don't matter the flavor, sir.
Okay, and don't bring up oil down either, right?
All right. One of the thing is I have always had that, or was brought up with that concept of abundance that you spoke of, in regards to everybody could get a piece of the pie,
right?
In regards to sharing, your your dreams and all of those things. Although the point that Glenda makes, sometimes I was also one that at times you need to be careful.
You have to know when to release the dream.
Right, and also know whom you share it to, because not everybody is catch your vision or go with that. There's some vision dampers, you know, they just spray a setter, just out your fire, like a fire extinguisher.
All right. I understand exactly what you're saying. I have no difficulty with that, but I'm talking about in the context of your development of a CSO, not necessarily about your own personal development. In other words, like if you're going to be studying for MBA, I don't mean that you have to go and tell everybody I go and study for MBA, because I mean there may be people out there who think, you know, what the hell is she playing? You know, what she thinks she could be doing an MBA for? And you could get some bad vibes coming back at you. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your understanding that you're doing your MBA. It's not about making you better than the next person or taking you from the next person. It is because you feel like there's a share out there for you, right? And you're operating along those lines. So you don't really care if 6 other people sign up for MBA as well, because you know that 7 people with MBAs in Grenada is not going to mean that you're going to have no work for anybody at all, because all 7 of you are going to be different. You're going to come from a perspective from where you were working before. Norja is going to come with her background in statistics and farming, and so, and there will never be 2 people perfectly alike who could be competing perfectly against one another. Each one of you is unique, right? So that's the point I was making. But I agree with you that there are some dreams and aspirations that you don't really want to share with any and everybody.
Right. The other thing is going back to strategic thinking, right? Because based on what you're explaining, I am gathering and I'm of the understanding that one come before the other. The strategic thinking have to come before the planning, right?
Yep.
And when I reflect on, you know, groups that I am attached to, places that I would have worked, and all of those things, I realize that we usually do it before behind. So how come?
No, when you say before behind, when were you involved in a foresighting session?
I didn't hear that. Can you repeat?
When were you involved in a foresighting session that came behind the strategic planning session? You said it's done back to front, but that implies that you do strategic planning first and then do the strategic visioning.
Well, because most of the times we jump straight to just the planning.
Well, right, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So it's not as if you do it back to front. You don't do it at all. I beg to, you know, to suggest that.
Well, yeah, more or less.
Yeah, we don't have a history of doing that, right? Strategic planning tends to be, you know, a fairly straightforward. No, I shouldn't say straightforward. A fairly well documented process. Let me put it that way, right? And this foresighting thing is somewhat newer than strategic planning, right? So you still need your SWOT analysis and all that, you know, you still need to do your strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats and blah, 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 blah. But it is done in the context of having built out these scenarios before. And now you're talking about a future that you have already listed as the desired future that you're looking for. And your strategic plan now is to
take you there.
Get into the how and exactly.
But the most important thing is for you to see and set up the future in your mind, because otherwise the plan going to just take you anywhere.
No.
Visualize,
I want to disagree. I want to disagree with you.
No, because
I want to disagree. Natasha, hold on.
Go ahead.
I don't want to go down this road. I am not suggesting that any one person has any plan in their head or any vision in their head. Remember, I said that these scenarios have to be built of expert groupings coming together. And expertise here is not only in the terms of the science, but in terms of the experience, right? So you need.
Understand. So when I said that, and when I said the It's
In
not,
your
it's
mind,
not, it's not in the sense of an individual.
okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm speaking, as a grouping, not personally as an individual. Because if you're looking at an organization, right, and as an organization, we would have missed all the strategic thinking, right? That component, which means we have not sat and visualized in our minds or as a group where we want to be 5 years from now. What is it we're going to accomplish? How is it we're going to look 5 years from now? If we would have skipped that component, then and we just sit and plan, then
based on your history.
planning just
So most
means
times you're sitting and planning based on your history.
But some of the times you sit and plan based on the need and the project that you're working on. And I think myself, I've fell into situations like that where you start a group or you start a project and you start with the planning and you think that strategic, thinking. And now this course is showing me that I was doing it wrong, because
No,
when
no,
we
no.
were planning, there was a lot.
Let me stop here, Jeanette. One of the things that I am very clear on, and I want you all to be clear on it as well. Just because some fool that lecture into you introduces you to a particular process or procedure, do not necessarily feel that it is superior, one, or two, that everybody else was doing rubbish, right?
No. I don't think that.
Doing it wrong, you see, because you use the word wrong.
I said that because I am now looking back at, what I would have done,
right,
and the shortcomings that we would have had in some of our groups.
Okay.
And now I'm also part of other groups, and I wasn't part of their planning. So when you're asked to be a director on a board, or you're asked to come in to be a partner in something, in some of my situations now, even with NADMA as I am now or whatever, I sit now and I'm more analyzing, and everything that we've been going through over the last few weeks, I'm now breaking it down as to, you guys really planned this thing? Are you really think this thing true? I mean, where you intend to end up, 5 years from now? Because before, with planning in some, especially community projects, we go based on the project and what we want to get done. So if we say we're building bus sheds, and the reason we're building it, we go straight for doing the project, writing up the proposal, without thinking 5 years from now, government plan to widen the river. And if they do that, then the bus shed will be moved.
Yeah.
Right. So scenarios like that is where I said, well, we did it wrong, because I've watched us make mistakes, and then I've watched groups fall apart based on, we really didn't think everything through and put your thoughts on paper, really, before we put plans on paper.
And not only that too, sometimes you limit.
That's the point.
Sometimes you limit the thinking.
I'm with you, Nati. I get what you're saying.
Sometimes you limit the thinking to the members of the group.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why, well, I shouldn't say one of the reasons, the main reason why I think an organization should bring a strategic planner or facilitator from outside is that you need eyes from the outside. You need eyes from the outside. When you're in something, I mean, I can't give you the details, but when I was dealing with what Nawasa, they knew some of the issues, not some, all the issues better than I would, obviously, because they work in there. But they also know some of the inherent difficulties. They already know what's not going to work. So they wouldn't even think about it, because they already know that ain't gonna work. Mr. So-and-so not gonna agree to that, because that's not how he is. And we don't know how he is already. Somebody coming from the outside now would ask, why not ask Mr. So-and-so to do X? And you would see the body language change, because everybody in the room sit down there knowing, where this fool come from Trinidad to tell you? We know Mr. X not going to do that, right? But you need to have somebody ask it. And then when they all give me that look, and I ask, okay, so why can't we ask Mr. X to do that? What is Mr. X's job portfolio? And they tell you what his job portfolio is, and you see that it falls within it. Then you have to ask a hard question. So then, why Mr. X not doing it? Oh, because in 1984 you sued them for so and so. I'm just making this up. Don't go and think that have don't want to sue anybody, that much years ago, he sued the organization and they don't have him there already, they can't fire him and they can't get rid of him kind of thing. So you
But
need.
a lot of our organizations here do have a similar a problem. Sometimes people get involved with the group and they just pick this person because they have the same political alliance, or based on the companies they work for or something, not that the person can really contribute.
Yeah.
Or if the person can contribute, you sideline them, but they're here because we're supposed to have a member from this organization or whatever, but we don't really want to open them out and say nothing. And I've sat on committees where it's situations like that, and then you feel so sad sometimes because you really watch that their skill sets is not being used, and you have to ask yourself at the end of the day, what's the point? Because the whole objective in the end will not be met when we sideline certain people.
Yeah.
But I've seen it happen, and we're very guilty of it here.
All right, but as I said, just making the point that that the need for outside. So when you have your CSO and you are deciding that you have to go into some sort of planning exercise, we are going to run out of time just now, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to move over to Kenya. All right, not Kenya the country, Kenya the person. So we are at the stage now where we understand that when as a CSO you sit down to do your planning, don't be afraid to have facilitators or somebody from the outside who doesn't know the internal politics of the group. Because the group is going to have internal politics. All right? So, let's just let that simmer a little bit, because you ever get to this stage where you have your CSO, after all, or you form it, or you have the degree, and where then people come from who could come and tell you anything. So that's something you have to watch against, because that it's the arrogance that comes in, especially when you have a competitive advantage or when you understand that you're unique. Just because you're unique doesn't mean you have to be arrogant. All right. So I think
that doesn't mean
Karen,
you're right all the time.
Yeah, unless you're me. Right.
Oh God, Lord help him,
Yeah. Right. I was right about that statement too. Right. So Karen, we're going to end here. Karen, you have to switch us off, right?
I'm here.
Yeah, no, but you need
to go over to Kenya, so
you need
But
to.
hold on.
Mm-hmm.
So I just see something come up on my screen saying the hosts have upgraded you to
unlimited
unlimited
time.
minutes.
Yeah.
Did you do that, Karen? I saw it on my screen too, but I don't know if they could switch. I don't think they could switch over to my account, so I don't know. Karen, did you do that? Hello. Oh well. Yes, we off until Kenya's turn. Okay, so I'm going to end now since I'm recording. And can you see if you can just give us another 20 minutes or so now? Okay?
Okay.